Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the online bin packing problem with deadlines. Okay, so here's our outline. So here's the problem definition. So all items will have a size in the interval 0, 1, and the arrival and deadlines are both real numbers. Okay, and each bin has a capacity of 1. On an item's arrival, the item must be assigned to a bin immediately. Okay, and on an item's deadline, the whole bin containing that item will be dispatched immediately, permanently. Okay. And here are some related works. We won't talk much about it. So the most classic example is the classic online bin packing problem, or BPP. Okay, so it's basically our problem, but with no deadlines. Okay, it's pretty well studied in the 70s and 80s. Okay, here's a more recent variant called timely bin packing. And here's also a pretty classic example called dynamic bin packing. Okay, and here's our methodology. Okay, so traditionally for online algorithms, there's two pretty commonly used performance measure. One is competitive ratio, the other is asymptotic competitive ratio. Okay, and usually the ACR is smaller than CR, but in our problem we showed that these two are equivalent. Okay, and this is pretty huge because that the analysis for ACR usually need not be as tight as CR. Okay, and here are some of our results. The first one is that we proved a general lower bound. Okay, so any online algorithm in our problem will have a competitive ratio at least 2. Okay, so this is pretty huge because it shows the hardness of our problem compared to the classic BPP, right? Because most algorithms in classic BPP can achieve a CR that's better than 2 pretty easily, right? Okay, so the first algorithm we're going to talk about is NextFit. Okay, so it's pretty simple. It keeps only one bin active at any time for packing. Okay, so when an item arrives, it just packs that item into that one bin. If it doesn't fit, we just close it and open a new bin. And in classic BPP, this next fit has an ACR of 2, but with deadlines, we show that it's exactly 3. All right, and the next one is a more sophisticated constant space bin packing algorithm. Okay, so it's pretty well known that in the classic BPP problem, so as our partition gets more and more fine-grained, okay, the ACR gets closer and closer to the optimal ACR for a constant size algorithm, right? But we show that with deadlines, this algorithm actually its ACR actually diverges, okay, as its partition gets more and more fine-grained. Okay, and another class of algorithms that we're going to consider is the AnyFit class. Okay, so in contrast to NextFit and Harmonic, this one actually considers all the previously opened bin. Okay, so the only difference is in like when an item fits in some bin, which bin do we pack the item into? Okay, and we show that with deadlines, this whole class has an ACR between 2.2 and 3. All right, so the first algorithm in this class is called worst fit. Okay, it basically packs the item into the most empty bin. Okay, and we show that with deadlines, this algorithm has an ACR of 3. So this proves that so the upper bound for the NFA class is actually tight, right? And then the next one we consider is called first fit. Okay, and actually it just packs the item into the first bin that fits. Okay, and we show that it actually performs better than worst fit. Okay, with an upper bound of 2.75. Okay, and here's a special case that we considered. So where all items in the input have the same size p. Okay, and we show that like here we said NF or FF, but really like any reasonable algorithm, A will have an ACR that's 2 minus 1 over floor 1 over p. Okay, so this is pretty different from in the classic BPP problem, where like basically any reasonable algorithm will achieve an optimal ACR. Okay, and here are some of our conclusions and future work. So here's some quick recap. Here's some diagrams, quick recap. And here's some future work. Okay, so you may pause and look at it. Okay, so I think that concludes this talk. So thank you for listening.